Hello and welcome to another episode of It's Data Habibi. My name's Dustyn Smith and I'm one of the co-founders of HEMOdata. This is a podcast where we're exploring the world of data through the lens of different challenges across AI, loyalty, customer engagement, data management and strategy. In the last episode, we spoke about not another birthday email when it relates to loyalty. In today's episode, we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into that and in particular the points program. So without further ado, it's super exciting. I'm very delighted to welcome two of our guests, Namrata Sarmah and Gemma Hill. Nam, do you want to introduce yourself?
You can call me Nam. Yes, absolutely. I'm great to be here, Dustyn. Very grateful to be here. So my name is Namrata, or you can call me Nam. I am a Chief Product Officer and have been one for the last 5+ years now across different industries. And I'm also the founder of two communities, CPO Track, which is a community for product leaders and execs, and Women in Product UK, which is a community for female product managers.
Fantastic. And we actually had an event this morning where we had a Women in Product breakfast, which was a huge success.
Not just an event, but actually launch of the brand in Dubai, which is great. I mean, I feel really grateful that we are able to launch the brand here, and I think the breakfast went very well. Great feedback so far. So yeah, super excited about it. And also CPO Track has already launched in Dubai, doing very well, and we have some amazing members already.
Another event tomorrow.
Another event tomorrow. Yeah. So yeah, super excited to see how quickly these communities have actually grown managed to scale in the region. So yeah.
And it's these are global communities. You've run one in Amsterdam last week, New York next week, I think.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
for the follow-up event. So yeah, so for CPO Track is actually global. So we started in the UK, but then very quickly there were lots of inbound inquiries that started coming from various countries across the world saying that, can you share the love basically with various parts. So we ended up launching, actually Dubai was our first international event, international launch. But then, so Dubai is very lucky for me, I think, because after that there were lots of other inquiries. So we ended up launching in New York City this summer. Then we launched in Amsterdam in September. We also launched in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And then next year we're launching in Paris, Berlin, Munich, Stockholm, Austin, and Bay Area.
Wow. Great segue into Scotland. Our other guest, Gemma, has promised Scotland. So we might have to put subtitles on this episode. But Gemma, would love if you'd introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'll try to speak slowly so everybody understands and no need for subtitles. So my name's Gemma, head of product and co-founder at 10X, which is a relatively new consultancy here in the region. Our mission is elevating product and UX maturity here. My background is in psychology and I have been in the region for over 10 years working in the product space. So I've been in agencies, I worked for multiple well-known brands across the region in aviation, prop tech, education space. So yeah, I am super excited to be here. I'm also a recent ambassador of CPO Track here in Dubai. So really excited to attend the event this morning and see lots of women in product, and then also excited about the event tomorrow. And it'll be really nice to see how we can bring CPO Track here to Dubai, because I think that's something that's missing.
Fantastic. And in terms of how it relates to today's topic, Gemma, you've been in the region for a long time. Is it how many? 10 years?
Yeah, nearly 10 years.
10 years, and worked on some of the biggest kind of consumer brands that we all mostly use every day, right? So I think super excited to welcome you both now with your global experience and what you can bring to this region. I think one of the things we're trying to bring to this region is kind of what is the rest of the world doing? Can we bring the best of the West into this region and almost overtake the rest of the world? And there's some huge ambitions across the region to do that. So thank you very much for coming in. I am taking advantage slightly of you flying in from London for your own events, but awesome to have you on. And Gemma, thank you too.
Thank you.
Awesome. So let's jump into some of the questions, because I think we're a culture based on convenience here. There's a lot of apps flying around that are there to kind of help people be more lazy. Maybe not more lazy, but I can't remember the last time I went to a fuel station to fill up my own car. The fuel station comes to me. Maybe first question, why do you think it is that brands are so obsessed with loyalty? And do you think there is any ROI that's coming from these loyalty programs?
Yeah, so I can start. I think the reason that brands are so obsessed is the data, right? They want to be able to track all of the data. But I think there's a slight disconnect because that data that we use is redemption data. So what are people redeeming those points for? And where we're not focusing on is the motivation. Like, why are people coming back to that brand? Why are our customers loyal? And I also think brands have they have this short-term view and they kind of forget about the long-term value. So, for example, with these loyalty programs, there's immediate enrollment. Okay, so like 40% of people have signed up to use an airline program or something else, but actually enrollment doesn't mean engagement. So a lot of these users are dormant, they're not actually using it. So I think it takes a while for that lifetime value to really be seen. And I think sometimes the data is not the real data that we should be using. There's that kind of delusion with the data because it's not actually telling us what customers really want. But I think that it's the whole data piece that makes brands obsessed with these programs.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that because, data is obviously quantitative. And then if you really want to understand your customers, you need two sides to it. You need the quantitative and the qualitative. And I think the qualitative data is what a lot of brands are missing because, they might have in their database, let's say, information about 100,000 customers. But so what, right? I mean, they're not keeping in touch with all these customers all the time. So some of the information that they have about these customers might be outdated as well. I also feel that loyalty programs are like, to a certain extent, things of the past now. Because if you look at the brands that are doing well, like in terms of the long-term value, these are actually brands that have formed a long-term relationship with their customers through communities. I have to talk about communities, I'm sorry, because I'm a community builder myself. But I'm talking about even luxury brands, right? I mean, the ones that they have managed to build a community with their customers, or let's say the most active customers, they are the ones who are able to kind of stay golden because the same customers, it's the 80-20 rule. Is it 20% of your customers who are going to buy your products over and over again? And it's the same customers who's going to refer you to their friends and family and networks. So that you can see the amplifying effect. It can be actually massive. So I feel like the focus is almost on the wrong things.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. And I'd love to get your perspective on programs that you think do this really well and it is working. Because I've definitely experienced personally programs that work really well. And so there's always a motivation for me to be like, oh, there's a loyalty program, I'm going to sign up for that because it might just be the next good one. But there's some that have also been kind of bad experiences. I mean, I remember when I lived in Singapore, I think I mentioned this on the last episode somewhat, but this was pre-COVID. The point system for air miles used to be great, right? And I let it build up during COVID, and after COVID, for a whole year, I flew business class all around the world, and I didn't pay for it. So I got something back by being a member, but now it's almost impossible to get an upgrade on any of the airlines. But then there's ones that still kind of I feel like royalty, and I think in particular Marriott Bonvoy has done it really, really well, and a few of the other sort of equivalents to Marriott Bonvoy. But I've been super loyal to them because every time I turn up at a hotel, I get an upgrade. There's a bottle of champagne waiting in my room. There's they greet me as, oh, Mr. Smith, thank you for being a platinum member, and so I'm very, very loyal to them. But there's other ones where it's just like, okay, I've got some points, but how do I use it? I feel it's maybe a bit complicated. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What are the ones that, in your view, that are working really well, other than the ones I've mentioned?
I think that there's a challenge, right? Because I think with the Marriott Bonvoy, it's the instant gratification, like at the time of purchase, you're there, you get the upgrade, like, so it's something tangible. I think the challenge with the aviation industry is that you collect these points, like you're spending on the flights and they go into a bank and you forget about them because it's not something that's maybe top of mind. So I think where some brands do it really well is the frequent flyer rewards for any airline industry. You have the status attached to that. You get lounge access, you get free upgrades, you get greeted on the airplanes. Whereas to nowadays, when using these miles, it's like a maths degree. Like, how many can I use now? When do they run out? There's blackout dates. There's lots of different complications. People forget about it. And I think also when you spend on your credit card and you earn like miles through that, again, not something that's top of mind. So I think the industries that do it really well are the hotel industry, instant gratification. There's also a really nice app here called Disloyalty, where you get free coffee through signing up to their loyalty program. And I love the name Disloyalty. I think that's
very clever.
That's quite funny. But at different hotels here in Dubai and also in Europe, you get a free coffee, which is instant gratification. It's top of mind. So like I love being part of that. And then you also get discount on hotel stays. So I think brands that do it well are the ones that are rewarding their loyal customers easily at the point of purchase versus banking something for later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think in my view, like, I think some of the grocery brands, especially in the UK, they do it well. I mean, I think Tesco is still, I mean, they were the first ones to come up with a club card. It's still doing very well. And I think obviously Boots, we all know household brand, right? I mean, Boots, those points actually mean something. It's pretty tangible. So I feel like those two brands have always done it well. I think from a kind of consumer product perspective, I think some of the beauty and skincare brands do it pretty well because, yeah, I mean, they, again, like you get an opportunity to try their new products before they even launch in public. So I think especially because they know their user base really well and they know what that user base would like. So for someone like me, if I like a certain product, I would definitely share it with my friends and mention that, okay, this is a great new product. So I think they truly understand their customer segment, which I think is their superpower, which means that the moment they launch something or even during pre-launch, those products go viral.
Yeah.
Because they're really keeping their customers engaged.
Yeah. That's interesting because it sounds like there's a difference in like how different regions are using data there, right? Like in the UK, they know their customer and they're using that data to personalize or hyper-personalize the experience. Whereas here, I think that's only just kind of catching on, right? It's still, everyone wants the data and these programs are there designed to like capture data, but are there any that are really using it to hyper-personalize the experience? I think that's still an evolution that we're just starting to see a lot of now. Don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, like I think that is so true because I think we're focused again on the redemption side of things. We're focused on what are people using those points for rather than what are their motivation. If you look at brands like Apple who don't have any loyalty program but they have a huge loyal following because of the product excellence, because of the consistent experience across multiple touch points and integrated in your day-to-day, which shows that brands can capture data and use it in a smart way without having to maybe engineer a points program or loyalty because customers will be loyal, but what customers want is to be understood.
So they're buying why you do it, not rather than what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very interesting. So in your opinion, what's the most common reasons some of these points programs flop? Is it tech? Is it strategy? Is it data? Is it customer apathy?
I think it's the why. I think a lot of brands don't know the why behind some of these programs. Like, why are you even doing this? I'll give you an example, and that's a little bit different from loyalty programs, but like big conferences. And we were talking about this earlier today. Like, I'm not going to name names now, but there are certain huge conferences globally that you have like 10,000 people visiting. And I'm sure a lot of big brands and vendors like yourself would pay them a lot of money to kind of have your booth and this and that. And what these conferences are really offering you is maybe a list of, I don't know, 200 or maybe even 2,000 email addresses of people who signed up. Now, those are just email addresses and names, of course. And you can reach out to them, but that's a very cold outreach. You can't actually expect to win business by just cold outreach, right? But then they are charging you tons of money just to showcase your brand in those kind of big exhibitions and things like that. So I feel some of that is, I'm just not clear the why behind it. Like, what is the value that the vendors are getting out of it? Also, what is the value? What is the long-term value that the conferences are getting out of it, right? Because at one point, as a vendor, you will realize that actually, I don't have any ROI coming from these. So at one point, you're going to stop paying for these things anyway, right? So it's a little bit of a short-term vision in a way, like the way some of these things happen. It's the same thing with loyalty points as well. I feel like figuring out the why is super important. And also kind of less is more, actually, if you think about it. Like, I follow a podcast called Acquired. It's amazing. I mean, please do follow if you
and Data Habibi.
And of course, but like acquired is like I don't want to like promote a podcast and a podcast, but actually acquired is very different. I just
I've
think
actually watched it
it's
as well.
actually
It is very
amazing,
good.
and they did this whole episode on Rolex and like luxury brands, so
Yeah.
LVMH and Rolex and all of that, and then and Hermes, which was actually a very good episode. But the thing is, the focus on the consumer
Yeah.
and the type, the segment of consumer that these luxury brands are going after, it is so different that these brands are not going behind volumes at all. They don't even care actually,
Yeah.
So I think that hyper focus on who these people are and why they would buy that brand over and over again, I think that is the secret sauce.
And I think you're absolutely right. Everyone wants to achieve product-led growth,
Yeah.
but only the ones who have that absolute obsession with customer experience are achieving product-led growth. And there's some amazing stories around the world of that. But everyone's talking about it. Has anyone?
very hard to
yeah,
implement.
it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
And it's funny what you say about like these events, because we did have a conversation about it. And for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been attending a lot. But I have noticed a massive dip
Drop, yeah.
in the number of people. We did one in Riyadh, I won't name it, but it was one of these 20 or 1,000 people a day traffic events, and we did pay a lot of money, but we were stuck in one of the corner exhibition halls in Baltic freezing air conditioning where all the team were, and the foot traffic was terrible, and there's been a few other ones even here in Dubai that have been the same. And I think a part of it as well is just there's the same speakers, the same topics over and over again, and there's not really much kind of like listening to what the market needs to be able to.
It's a push
to invest.
technique, like they're pushing content on the audience without actually understanding what the audience wants.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a lot less ourselves with those events. That's very true.
No, I was just going to say, I think being in the product space, I am always like, my mantra is fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is these brands design loyalty programs first. So solution thinking first, and then they forget about, well, what problem are we solving? What do customers actually want? And I think also in the context of the MENA region, it's a very different culture. So I think it's high purchasing power in Saudi and Dubai, so getting 5 dirhams back or that seems a little bit insulting, I think. And I also think loyalty programs are very individualistic to the person, whereas in MENA we're very focused around family and friends, and so loyalty programs don't really cater for that kind of group element, which I think is that thinking about that cultural context, there are brands that absolutely do it really well here in the region, like the airline programs. I think having that tiering up status, because people like social status. So I think if you're a frequent flyer, those benefits are really good. Air miles aside, I think if you're platinum versus gold and silver, there are some nice benefits you can get. And also in the banking industry, there are a lot of digital banks here in the region that are offering cashback on purchasing, which again, integrated in your day-to-day. So there are brands that are doing it really well, and I think there are sometimes brands where we miss the mark because it's about the solution rather than the person.
And your husband works in digital banking, doesn't he?
He works in new banking as well, and I think I totally agree with you. And actually, very true. A lot of these brands come up with a point system first, and then they figure out what to do with it. So, which is the exact opposite of how good products are built.
Yeah. 100%. So, based on your experience, then, is there any kind of before and after stories that you can think of where you've seen a loyalty program introduced that has driven behavioural change with customers?
I'll give a good example of my friend who frequently flies with an airline here, and she recently got downgraded from gold to silver.
Gosh.
And that was quite upsetting for her. She enjoys flying business. She enjoys all of the perks that come with being in that tier and that social status. And she is now she's from Australia, so she flies back frequently to Australia. And she is now booking all of her flights in a certain time frame in order to get back to that status, because it is really important to have those perks. So I think the behaviour change is, once people have a taste of that sort of the upgrades and everything else, people are more likely to continue to fly with that particular airline, regardless of price or timing. You know, it might be cheaper somewhere else, but it's like, no, I want that social status back. So I see people, and also when I previously worked in the aviation industry and I did some user testing with frequent flyers, a lot of people would actually get on flights and buy tickets for first class just to keep their status if it was running out. So I'm seeing there like that change in behaviour when it comes to flights.
It is really hard to go back to
It is so funny. I have some funny stories in terms of the flight points and all that, but like I'll give an example actually from CPO track, because we have we run a bunch of membership plans as part of CPO track. So we've got a very basic tier now, which is actually brand new. It's like entry level, super basic, which is actually very cheap as well. And then we've got like track 1, track 2, and then we have board track, which is like ultra premium because it's for people who are ready for board roles. So obviously very, very senior people. And what we've seen is everybody always goes for track 2. So track 2 is higher than track 1. And it fascinates me because, the amount of activities and programming that we do in London is by far much higher than any other regions. Obviously, because I'm based out of London and most of our sponsors are London-based. So we do lots of things there. But then I see a lot of folks from Europe and US sign up for track 2. And I actually messaged them back saying, this is great. However, we don't do that much events in your region. So maybe a track 1 or international membership, which is also new, is better for you. And, I always get they always say, no, we want to still sign up for track 2. I don't know. It's hard for me to crack why. I mean, of course, the perks are amazing. Maybe it's because of that. But it is quite funny for me to witness it because I'm the one who created these plans. And I never actually thought that there will be certain amount of loyalty attached to track 2. But I really think it is human behavior. That actually people, if they can afford it, they want to go for the top, the highest thing that they can afford. Of course, they look at value as well, obviously. But I also think that we hardly ever see members who downgrade, for example, from track 2 to track 1. And some of them they don't even use the membership that much. Like they wouldn't be attending all the events in the year. Like they would be only attending half of the events, but they still would go for the same tier. So I think it's something to do with behavior for sure. There is obviously status attached to it. I think that's super important. But ultimately, I think it's a love for the brand as well.
Yeah, and I wonder whether there's also cultural nuances to this, right? Like we talk, your background's psychology degree, and culturally, regions are different, right? Here, people do care about status and premium and all that. And we were just talking this morning about it's very similar in India, right? So do you guys think like the cultural differences around the world do have an impact on these loyalty programs?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think in definitely the UAE and India is similar as well. I think any status-loving nations, I think, would probably go for something premium. But I also feel ultimately more than status, I think it's the value. I think customers see the value, and if they're getting value out of something, there's no looking back for them. They would buy that same thing over and over again. Like they would fly the same airline over and over again as long as they see the value. The opposite is also true though, because when you value something so much, if you've had even one bad experience,
it can really
that could really impact those loyal customers.
And I also think it's also related to effort versus reward. If it's a lot of effort to redeem something, then and the reward isn't that great, then I think that has a role to play. And I think here in this region, because we're so focused on convenience and premium, I also think if it's difficult for me to do, then I'm not interested because I don't have the time. It doesn't suit my busy lifestyle. I want something convenient. And I also think as well with this region, there's a huge expat community. So, these loyalty programs, sometimes like the person is not country locked, but you'll move around, but those loyalty programs don't always follow you around. Maybe with airlines it's different, but I think if you say, for example, have a loyalty program here that they use in UAE and then you move to Singapore, like that's years of loyalty that's lost. So I think where there's a huge expat community, I think sometimes the loyalty programs, they're great. Like for example, entertainer, when you're an expat and you move here and you get, that loyalty program of, 2 for 1 is really encouraging, but, that's not something that might translate in London, for example, or in India. So some of these programs I think are quite specific to
regions, yeah. And I think the value you get from some of them as well, go back to some of the hotel brands I've used, like the value I get out of them when I'm traveling Asia or Middle East is huge, but you go to London, you don't really get much in terms of benefits other than the welcome, like thank you for being a loyal member. So yeah, definitely does make a difference. So we've established the cultural context of the point system. Want to move a little bit beyond that. So how do you ensure customers see value while the brands still extract the insights, right? Because as a brand, you still want to get the data, but how do you? Are there ways that you feel brands could be doing better for letting customers get the value?
I feel like brands don't do enough in terms of referral programs. I just feel like it's such an easy way to unlock value. And I feel like a lot of brands still don't do it. I mean, referral doesn't mean you get £10 off. Like that's tiny. I mean, as you said, that's like, it's the same like 5 dirhams. Like that's not value extraction, but like you could do so much because as I said, like we move around in similar circles. Typically that's like human nature, right? Like I would probably know 10 other people who are very similar to me with similar spending powers, with similar circles in terms of like maybe we shop the same brands, we say, so there's a high chance that one of your customer knows at least maybe 100 other customers exactly like them. So same persona. It's kind of common sense. It's super easy, but I just don't know why brands don't crack that.
Yeah. Going back to Marriott Bonvoy, they've actually done this, but they've made it a little bit difficult recently because I've taken advantage of like the referral program there. You refer a person to the credit card, you get 15,000 points, and I love my points because I use them. I think I must have done it like 6 or 7 times, and now I cannot find how to do it again. So I'm wondering whether they're like, oh, this guy's earning too many points, let's stop him doing it, or maybe the offer ended. I don't know, but I do think with the referral things, it is a massive opportunity missed, but also some of them are really complicated, right? There's another hotel brand where it's like you can link it to a car hire company, link it to some of the, but to do it is like 20 steps of like navigating, and it's quite a lot of time. So
they make it challenging.
Make it easy. You'll be able to drive more of that behavior.
Yeah, and I think it's that value exchange, right, that's missing because brands want a lot of that customer rich data. They expect a lot from you. But often the value proposition is weak, right? You know, £10 off like that doesn't really shift the needle. And I think where brands should focus on is we will give you relevance, we make it work for you, we understand what you want, and in return we get that understanding rather than it feel like I'm giving up all my data for not very much in return. And I think if we see more of that, like understanding and like asking the customer what they want, then you're more willing to give up your data.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So how do you guys feel like in markets like Dubai and Riyadh, where luxury and convenience dominate, how could points programs here be adapted to learn more about lifestyle, not just purchase frequency?
I think purchase frequency isn't really relevant here because everybody wants convenience, premium, like feel there's multiple ways to pay for things. So as a brand, using purchasing frequency doesn't really give you that competitive edge. And I think we've touched on it across everything we've spoken about today. The competitive edge comes from knowing your customer, understanding their lifestyle. And I think that's where, you know, brands can have that competitive edge by really understanding who their customer base is and what they need from that.
I think knowing the customer base more intimately, I think that can unlock more value. For example, I mean, a lot of brands do like events and things like that, right? I mean, again, doing an event for 200 people, I mean, it's just anything which is mass, like massive scale. I'm just not sure how much value it actually delivers. But then I think more kind of curated experience and things like that, especially hospitality brands. I mean, imagine you spoke about Marriott a few times, but imagine if you got access to something a highly curated experience from them. You feel that they've done it for you.
Yeah.
Even though that's not exactly the case, if they have done it for Dustyn's profile, but not exactly for Dustyn, right? But then you will feel as if it was all curated for you, and you will probably turn out. Yeah, you know. And another thing I feel is kind of trying to involve friends and family as well, especially family, because And this is, I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but like we work, like at CPO Track, we work with a lot of pretty big, mostly technology brands. And it's all about how can we give some good experiences to some of our executives, because we want to keep them warm. We want to, build kind of relationship with the exec community. And one thing I always advise is, please, can you bring back the concept of +1? Because you give tickets out for like Wimbledon match or something, which is very high value, right? Or for, let's say, Royal Ascot or something, which people love. But the thing is, one ticket to Royal Ascot, there's a very high chance that exec is going to turn it down, because you don't go Royal Ascot alone. You want to take your partner with you, at least as a bare minimum, right? I know it costs the brand as a sponsor to kind of give away another ticket, but at least you're guaranteeing attendance, right? You would guarantee attendance. And what happens is, that person is probably going to be so happy with the experience, they're probably going to talk about you to 5 of their friends. And they're going to remember that experience, And I think that has a massive long-term value,
100%.
which I just feel that a lot of brands do not think long-term. I think that is the tragedy behind all of these things. But I just feel like anything that you're giving out to your customers, which only they can use, probably has less value than something that they can actually share with their friends and family.
Just learned a lot about the kind of stuff you do, Nam, and what the places you hang out in. Expensive taste.
Been spoiled by vendors like yourself.
But I think that what you said is so relevant for this region, because in our culture, like it's about
all family. It's all about family.
And I think that's potentially where like brands are missing the point, because it's really important in this culture. So I think yes, something that this region needs. It's not just about the individual, it's about the family, the community aspect of it. Yeah,
especially like a cricket, like I do get invited to cricket matches and things. I don't even understand cricket that much. But then if there is a +1, there's a high chance I'll take my husband. He'll probably talk about to like 10 of his friends or whatever. And then all of a sudden you have access to all these amazing people, So I feel like that kind of experience, that mindset, I think can really help.
Cricket's only just finished a few weeks ago in the stadium just here in Dubai. So no, we understand that draws a huge audience and very kind of passionate community around
100%. And you remember, I think the best thing is that you remember those events. After many years, you still remember and you will still talk about it.
Yeah, awesome. So do you feel like can redemption data actually drive or capture emotional connection, or is it too intangible?
Yeah, I don't think it tells you how the customer feels about the brand. Like, are we going to advocate for the brand using that data? If you will do that, I think that, like I mentioned Apple earlier, there's that emotional connection with Apple. It's integrated in your day to day. Whereas I think with this redemption data, it's not really a true measure of how people are interacting and engaging with your brand.
I agree. I don't think you can measure emotions with redemption data.
So what about ideas like the digital gamification, like apps, streaks, badges? Would they work better? Would they be a better element for the point system, or is again that just something that is kind of a trend that's come and gone?
It's too fluffy. I just don't think I think it depends on your audience. So I think for a young audience, like younger audience, I would say maybe the badges and stuff maybe holds some sort of value. But again, it also depends what is the average order value of your what are you selling. I think the price of the product also matters. If you're selling a high value, expensive product, I don't think badges and all these things matters. But if you're selling a mass product, maybe those type of things could matter. So it goes back to the £10 voucher. I think it kind of goes back to that as well. But I feel like those things don't matter that much. However, for certain products like healthcare, like I'll openly talk about Vitality. I mean, I've been a Vitality insurance customer for probably 10 plus years. I've never looked back. I've never looked back. I mean, they were the first brand. They did a few things very differently. First of all, the first insurance brand, which is pink, which is very bold if you think about it. Like most insurance providers, it's a black or grey or brown logos, and they came up with a bright pink logo, which is very visible. The second thing is They were probably one of the first ones to gamify the entire insurance experience, which nobody did. I'm still, as I said, I'm still a customer. I get access to like amazing spa experiences.
Yeah.
There's that, like there's 75% discount or whatever on yours, like stuff like that. It was very tangible value. But also, if you think the logic and the strategy behind it, it's very clever because the more I walk, the more points I get. But actually, the more I walk and keep healthy, the less I'll be sick, which means the less I'm going to claim insurance. Do you know what I mean?
And I think they're a great example of how they also collaborated with loads of other brands, right? So I remember I signed up for Vitality because I wanted the Virgin gym membership.
Exactly.
And so I went and signed up for that rather than direct membership because I also got all of the other benefits plus the insurance and that. So it was very clever and probably quite far ahead of its time.
Absolutely. But the thing is, it's hard to do that though. I mean, that entire kind of network effect that they created, because obviously creating partnerships with like 20 other huge brands is not easy. It takes time and things like that. But I think what it did is, as you said, like you were like inspired to sign up for Virgin Active, so that tells you something. So you are basically saying, I want to be healthy now because then I have access to this. But that's exactly what Vitality wants. Vitality wants you to be healthy so that you do not claim insurance.
Yeah.
And I think where gamification
it's very clever, isn't it?
Is when the core value is already established. So your healthcare brands, but like your Strava, like these badges, they equal like a sense of achievement, right? So it's not gamification in its true sense because it's not about points. It's about a status. People can see what I've achieved because it's part of a skill. Or Duolingo, where it's super valuable to learn a language. That core value is already realized. The streaks just add to it. I think there's a balance between gamification where it's noise and novelty versus something where core value is established, like with Vitality, and you're doing it because you get something out of it. So I think there's a fine balance with gamification. And I think for this region, where I think competition is not something that's like overt here, leaderboards, like public competition isn't something that's kind of part of this culture.
Okay.
And I also think there's a lot of like extreme digital fatigue when it comes to this gamification.
And also just so many apps nowadays, like there's an app for everything, isn't there? So
and again, it depends on the audience. Maybe a younger audience, but like for an older audience, is gamification really something that works? Yeah, it's very specific to the target market and the type of product you're trying to sell.
Yeah, okay. All right, we wouldn't be in 2025 if we didn't touch on AI. We're actually going to run another podcast series on AI specifically, so we're not going to go deep into this now. However, keen to hear your thoughts on what do you think AI will, or maybe already has, what impact will that have on personalized loyalty experiences?
It already has, actually. I mean, I think you mentioned Duolingo. I mean, that's massively AI-driven product. So I think with AI, obviously, brands can learn more about the users. It's not just AI, it's also machine learning. Ultimately, machine learning that is what kind of drives it, right? And I think it can be really powerful because ultimately, if you know enough about your user base, you can actually obviously recommend stuff to them, recommend products and services which they're most likely to buy. But also you can predict what those customers are going to like in the next 5 years' time. So you could almost predict a whole industry.
Yeah.
So I think it can be extremely powerful. And I think a lot of products we already mentioned have some level of AI embedded in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to Nam's point, I think the predictive relevance is really good. So we know about your behaviour, so we know that at 2:00 you normally like a coffee because your energy dips, and we know you're in the area, so come in, have a coffee, like at a discounted price, that predictive relevance. Or more conversational interface. Why make it difficult for me to find out what points I have? Tell me what I have, tell me what I can get from them. But then with everything, I think there's a balance. I think maybe this over-automation, over-engineering might also kill that premium luxury feel because we have to be careful that we're not over-automating, that everybody is getting treated the same, because in this region we like curated, bespoke personal experience. So how do you use AI to make sure we still have that premium feel without it feeling like we're spamming you with this with these alerts or recommendations, and it's not the same as what everybody else is getting.
Yeah, and it's an astronomical stats around the number of AI projects that fail. It's about 97% of AI projects are failing or failing to show any ROI, and that is why we exist as an organization, right? There's such a big layer or foundation you need to have first before AI can be successful, because you think about it, like, what's AI learning from? And if you're building your own products, learning from your data. So we focus a lot on kind of AI readiness, the governance, the rules, controls, processes, people, and technology as the foundation before you can enable AI. And there's a lot of ambitions across the region. Digital first economies, Vision 2030 in Saudi. Like both the UAE and Saudi are super kind of ambitious to be like the AI center of the world. So it is interesting, that as well. Cool. So moving on to the next segment of the podcast. So this is my favorite part of the podcast. It's called Habibi Fix This. It's a bit of fun, but kind of designed to put you guys on the spot, maybe make you a little bit uncomfortable, but really kind of challenge you to tell us what you could do better. So in this episode, you've got 60 seconds to fix any points program or make one of your own. So kill what's broken, keep what works, and tell us what you'll do differently. So who wants to go first?
I think I'll create one of my own, probably. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to fix sometimes certain things. I'm
going to do the timer. Okay, ready, go.
Okay, so I think I would create something, not now, probably in a 1 or 2 years time, but this is for CPO track and probably for women in product as well, actually, for both communities. And it's not exactly, I wouldn't call it a loyalty program, but it's more of like amplification, how members can kind of let more members, get into our ecosystem. And this would be something like, maybe I'm sharing too much right now, but like this is an imagination, right? So what I want to do is, we have a lot of members, as I said, 80-20 rule. We generally have same people attending a lot of our events, right? Now, what I would love to do is, instead of 20 of I would love to extend that number, obviously. So I think if we can incentivize members, so for example, if you recommend someone, you bring somebody into our network, you unlock something, you unlock a value, because most of our events are paid events as well, especially in the UK. So let's say somebody invites Dustyn to join CPO track, and because James has invited Dustyn, I give James access to one of our events for free. So that kind of incentivizes him, right? So which means that he's probably going to recommend more and more and unlock value. So I would love to create something like that, which I think can be an absolute flywheel for our growth. Because as I said, ultimately, you will know 5 other Dustyns. Yeah. It's the same profiles, right? Yeah. So I think that's an amazing way to build or scale the network with minimal marketing costs.
Yeah, brilliant. And that was only a couple of seconds overdue.
60 seconds, thank you.
Right, Gemma, same for you. You've done this a lot before, so.
Okay, so for me, I would look at an existing industry, which is the aviation industry. And I'm an expat. I fly home all the time. I travel to different countries. So for me, that's something I'm using like on a regular basis. I would completely kill the miles. I think it's so complex. The math doesn't math. It doesn't make any sense. What I would keep would be the tiered status across like these different airline programs. Frequent flyers deserve something special, and I think airlines do it really well. But what I would change is, if I fly 10 times, give me something in return. Give me a free flight in return. Yeah. Swap out those points and give me something tangible, whether it's a free flight, an upgrade, or how about sharing status with my family? So when my mum wants to come to visit, I can share my status with her so she gets to enjoy the perks that I get to enjoy. So I think there's something that we can do there where it's like a tangible reward rather than a point system.
Yeah, no, and that was definitely within 60 seconds as well. So I think it's interesting, especially the airline one as well, because I think it's commonly known that they have access to a lot of data, right? So I'll often, when I'm trying to book flights and I want to look at kind of the best deal, I'll have 3 or 4 devices open, because I know if I look at that device and then I go away for a day and I come back, the prices have gone up because they know I'm really interested in that. So I think kind of giving back to the customers is one way to really buy loyalty, right? If you trust the brand rather than think, oh, they're going to try and catch me out here, and take advantage of this is one way to do that. So maybe a bit of a wild question. So if you had access to unlimited amount of data and you could add like one wild loyalty feature, what would it be?
Oh, I would go for predictive.
Predictive.
More kind of modeling, like,
Yeah.
okay, this customer, this profile, spends X amount on XYZ. Where do you think in 5 years' time, what will they do, or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think predictiveness, and especially when it comes to aviation, it's not just about where you fly, but it's about when are they flying, where do they like to go, are they business traveler, are they family? I think there's so much we could do with that predictiveness and targeting people. So yeah, I think that's really important across the loyalty sector.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, probably moving to the wrap up now. So we've unpacked why the earn and burn model falls flat, how data can make loyalty smarter instead of just cheaper, what customers are actually looking for and truly value, whether it's exclusivity, experiences, or simply being seen and understood. So is there any kind of key final takeaways for the audience?
I think just advice for the brands that just understand what your customer needs. I think that you have to start from that. I think, and everything else comes later. Because I think at the moment still I see a lot of really big brands that's going the other way around. It's more about, this is what we want to give. The rest we don't really care. And that's why it falls flat.
Yeah, and I think rather than focusing on how much data or how we can extract that data, let's have a look at what we can do with the data, how we can use that to really provide value to end users. So I think I'll go back to my mantra of fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Focus on where people like have a problem and the value will follow.
Yeah, no, I love that mantra. And again, similar to how we operate as an organization, it's often you don't have to go and spend money, or it doesn't have to be an expensive exercise. It's kind of looking what you've currently got, looking for the quick wins, building that roadmap of small improvements, and over time it kind of turns into big wins. I'm a huge fan of like marginal gains. I don't know if you know who Sir Dave Brailsford is, but he was the guy who transformed the British cycling team into being just unstoppable for decades almost. And he came up with a concept of marginal gains, where it's like if you can make the bike 1% lighter and the rider 1% leaner and the wheel aerodynamics 1% better, and eventually you're getting 10% difference on any other competition, and it just meant it was unstoppable. So we try and adopt that in what we do as an organization, both externally and with our customers, and it does seem to work quite well. Awesome. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in our episode. I really appreciate it. I think you added a ton of value to the topic and subject. Hopefully the audience feels the same. So to wrap up, in the next episode we're moving on to AI. We're going to be covering AI, agentic AI, and we've got some really exciting guests which we'll announce soon. If you want to follow CPO Track and Women in Product, please connect with Nam on LinkedIn. Two awesome communities, and Gemma from 10x are doing some amazing space in the product community here. And for HEMOdata, obviously our LinkedIn, our website. This podcast series is going to be on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Spotify. And just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen.